So even though the major Daisy Johnson rumors that were circulating have kind of been debunked with like people from Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. coming out and saying, no, that's not really legit. Another thing that kind of makes this even more untrustworthy now is that the Watcher Twitter account, the person that was spreading these rumors, like the person that was majorly spreading them, deleted their Twitter account pretty much as soon as Marissa from Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. called them out as being, no, that's not what's happening at all. And that kind of makes that's more shocking than anything else, because normally with these rumor accounts they keep going if they get called out. Like, I don't think Grace Randolph, for example, I don't think she's right most times, but she's one of the people who she spreads a load of rumors. She's gotten called out by like James Gunn, the director of Birds of Prey, like loads of big people, and she's never really stopped spreading the rumors. Whereas as soon as somebody of slight credit calls this person out, they immediately delete their Twitter account. And that screams to me that yes, this was all kind of fake. This all was not legit. Or maybe they thought what they were telling us was legit, and now that they've been called out as not being legit, they're like, oh my god, Evan's just spreading lies, and they deleted their Twitter account for that. But this video is kind of going to be what I believe the MCU origin for Daisy Johnson might be, and I'm going to do a recap of the rumors, then a recap of her origin on Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. and her recap of what she is in the comics, and then kind of go from there on what I would think her origin will be. This might not be too long of a video because I only want to recap like the major stuff. Like, I'm not going to recap the entirety of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. Probably only really the first 2 seasons, since that's kind of what her origin is just the first 2 seasons. But the rumors we got were like saying that either she'll be a variant with a completely changed origin in the MCU, so like when she shows up she'll have a very clearly obvious different origin to what she had in Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. the show. The other rumor was that her origin was going to be particularly vague, where they weren't really going to confirm anything from Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D., but they weren't going to really decanonize it either, so they were going to leave it so they don't really explain what her origin is, and that fans of the show can kind of just go, oh well, at least I know that the origin still happens, or the origin still can fit in to that. But yeah, like, I just want to talk about where it should be Inhuman, Mutant, what the hell's going on. As always, just a quick reminder to subscribe if you're not already. Very, very, very close to 1,000, which was the goal for this year, so I'm so happy we're about to reach that. It's really been due to the Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. videos, honestly. Like, these Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. videos have been doing so well for the channel, and most of my recent subscribers have come from there. So if you're not subscribed yet, please do so, help out the channel. We only need 22, I think, as of this video is going up, until we get to 1,000. For Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D., Daisy is born in a village in China in 1988 to Cal and Jia-Ying. Now, Jia-Ying has Inhuman genes in her DNA, which are what gave Daisy her Inhuman genes. Anyway, after a while, the village is attacked by Hydra, and Daisy ended up being rescued by a S.h.i.e.L.D. team, and she was officially tagged as an 084, which means, an object of unknown origin. So Daisy was sent to New York, where she grew up in orphanages. One of the orphanages she grew up in was St. Agnes Orphanage in New York, which, surprise, surprise, also happened to be where Matt Murdock from Daredevil grew up. Now, eventually she joined the Rising Tide, which is a hacktivist group, and this led her to meeting Coulson, Ward, and the rest of the main S.h.i.e.L.D. team. So she started using this kind of working inside S.h.i.e.L.D. to get access to files that would tell her about her own history and her own kind of what happened to her. And then eventually Coulson and May get roped in to start helping her as well. Now, after an injury, she is given the GH325 serum, which this sort of started her on the path to Terrigenesis, and that being what made her discover her Inhuman heritage. And in early Season 2, she works with Coulson so that they can both discover what the map is that Coulson keeps seeing and drawing, and they eventually figure out that it's a map to some kind of hidden city. Now, at this point, we also had Daisy's dad, Cal, looking for her, and they get their first proper meeting with each other around this time as well. Anyway, they eventually find the city, they see an Inhuman diviner, Daisy and Raina get hit by the blast from it and both go through Terrigenesis. Trip ends up needlessly dying, if we're being honest, by doing that insane kick that ends up killing him. And over the next half a season, we have Daisy and Fitz discover what Daisy went through. They also have the help of people like Sif and Kree to really figure out what the hell happened to Daisy and who she is. Her Quake abilities slowly start to surface. She finds out that her mother is alive and she meets her. Then her dad returns. It's a whole thing. And there's a whole Inhuman invasion of S.h.i.e.L.D. as well. Cal kills Jia-Ying to stop her from killing Daisy. Then there's a huge Inhuman leak into the ocean, which leads to an Inhuman outbreak in early Season 3, where loads of people across the world are going through Terrigenesis because of fish oil pills. And Daisy starts going by Daisy full-time, and not Sky anymore. Then in season 3, she puts together the Secret Warriors. I'm only mentioning this because if the Secret Warriors rumor is legit, then that's kind of important for the future of or for the future of the MCU, since we already have a Secret Warriors. I'm sorry that I'm talking so fast. Then at the very end of season 3, she starts to be called Quake for the first time. Now, obviously, that's just the very, very basics. Other stuff happened, of course, after season 3 as well. Some major stuff happened for the character. And there's a lot of stuff I missed from the first 3 seasons as well. But that is the main origin of Daisy, in my opinion. Like, season 1 and season 2 is her origin story. Season 3 is her becoming Quake. And then the rest of the show is her full-on as Quake. That's kind of what you would need to know if Daisy is coming back. And if Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. is still canon, I feel like that's kind of the absolute basics that you would need to know. Now, I'm not going to talk much about the comics because, as usual with the comics, once you get the origin out of the way, it's a lot of just put this character in this team or put this character with other characters. Like, once you know the origin, that's kind of all you need to know when it comes to the comics. But in the comics, Daisy's parents still includes Cal, but her mother is a different character called Jennifer Johnson. She's also an Inhuman in the comics, but at first people thought she was a mutant. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I think this might be important for if she shows up in the MCU. Now, similar to Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D., she was forcibly taken by S.h.i.e.L.D., except instead of meeting with Phil Coulson, she is now meeting with Nick Fury. And this is where she found out about who she is, when she meets Nick Fury and all that. And this is kind of her main origin. After she joins S.h.i.e.L.D., she's a big part of Secret Wars. She's their director of S.h.i.e.L.D. for a while. She's involved in the Hydra uprising within S.h.i.e.L.D. She tangles with the Avengers about just usual comic book stuff where a character gets big enough they end up being a part of kind of everything or meeting everybody. So what will her origin look like in the main MCU? If I was to take a complete guess, I think it's going to be a combination of both. Now, even if they do go the kind of area where Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. is completely canon, I don't think we're going to be hearing things like the Rising Tide or things like Skye being a hacktivist in the main MCU. Like, I think we're never going to hear about that sort of stuff ever. But I think that a combination of the two is quite likely. Like, for example, that bit where it said that she was an Inhuman, but for the very first time they thought she was a mutant. That could happen, where they could bring her in, and due to, mutants popping up everywhere, due to mutations being in people, immediately they just call her a mutant to be kind of on the safe side, or to be kind of like, well, we're just using mutant as a blanket term for a load of people with powers that are coming from their DNA or coming from inside of them. And I feel like that is very possible, that maybe in her second or third appearance, we finally start to dig deeper into her being an actual Inhuman, but for the first while, they're just calling her a mutant just to be safe. I think things like her already being pre-established with S.h.i.e.L.D. will definitely happen. I think that that's kind of a given. Whether they're going to kind of talk about if she has a history with people like Coulson, that's another thing. I think she's definitely going to have a history with Nick Fury when we meet her for the first time, but they're going to leave it in such a way that it's you can be like, she only really met Nick Fury after S.h.i.e.L.D. ended, like Agents of S.h.i.E.L.D. Season 7 ended. I don't think they're going to go like, oh, she's been working with Nick Fury for 10 years now or something like that. I think they're still going to kind of keep Cal as her father, since that's kind of the constant between the comic books and the show. They might just mention that her mother was a powered person. Or I'm very just iffy on if Inhumans are going to be mentioned in the main MCU, like the main movies and shows. Sure, we got it kind of in Doctor Strange, but that was a completely different Earth. So I think that if Inhumans are mentioned before Daisy is introduced, then I think it's pretty safe to say she will be an Inhuman. But if they just do not mention Inhumans at all, I think they're just going to use mutant as a blanket term and keep Daisy as kind of, we're just calling them mutants because it's a power that comes from inside of them, sort of thing. But that's kind of how I'm feeling about what they may do with Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. Should they bring Daisy and should they bring this whole world into the main MCU? But what do you think? What do you think her origin is going to be? Where do you think she's going to pop up? Do you think the rumors are legit? And as always, please subscribe if you're not already. We're so close to 1,000, and like and share and all of that. And I hope you have a great day.